Part 56. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 569. Carl, it's really strange that you left the academy. Liang Bing walked in the corridor of the new Demon King city, chatting with Carl while walking. Due to some force majeure reasons, I had to leave the college I love. Liang Bing, we haven't contacted each other for so many years. How have you been lately? Are you still used to staying in that star field? Haha, there's nothing to get used to, I can stay there. But the place you recommended to me, Carl, is indeed a good place, but it's just too close to Kesha. Recently, I can already smell the female angels from Merlot heaven. Liang Bing said, pacing back and forth in the corridor a little irritably. As he spoke, he waved his arms. That should be the cruise fleet of Merlot heaven. If you don't provoke them, you won't be discovered. Carl chuckled a few times because of Liang Bing's vulgar words, and quickly adjusted his mood. Liang Bing, if you are discovered by Kesha and a new round of war breaks out between demons and angels, you can contact me and I can provide you with some resource help. Forget it. I'm too embarrassed to reach out for your little wealth, so you should keep it for yourself and build up your poor place. I really don't understand why you would place your settlement where animal civilizations gather. The known universe is so vast. There are many better places than that land. After Liang Bing stopped talking about angels, he no longer felt so irritated, so he found a flat stone platform in the corridor, sat down with his legs crossed, and his tone was much gentler than before. It is precisely because this place is far away from the site of other advanced civilizations that I chose this place. My research is related to death. If you observe the death of the divine river body, it will easily be resisted by other civilizations. So I plan to go to the star field where I am now and observe the death of the beast body in order to perfect my void theory. Carl's tone was very calm, and observing death made him speak as casually as he usually did when eating. Liang Bing paused for a moment after hearing the words, and then continued. Then you should study your death carefully. If you need my help, please contact me. I can. Liang Bing, then we have time to chat. Liang Bing hung up the communication. He came to the edge of the corridor and stared at the darkness that had begun to spread over the horizon, and said to himself. I didn't expect that kid Carl to start his own business now, studying death. Hey. Sister, there are more and more demons and ghosts in this universe. I don't know how your righteous order will deal with them in the future. Shun Yuan, I'm a little nervous. Today is our first appearance at the Nyoxing headquarters. I'm afraid something may go wrong later. I need to take a few more deep breaths. Anoxian was sitting on a metal bench, trying to take deep breaths to relieve his nervousness. At the same time, he was envious of Shun Yuan who was doing nothing but not feeling nervous at all. Today is the 20th year and 154th day of the Nyo star. Ever since that high-status angel sent himself to this unique planet, he has never contacted me again. I don't understand why she goes to such trouble to help me, but I only know that as long as I show my talents, I can gain status and the coveted power here. Unfortunately, I am not a traditional Nyo star, and I am not qualified to be selected as a candidate bearer of the second-generation Nyo star god-making project. However, my talent in combat was appreciated by Dukeo, so I was also recruited into the Nyo star sharp knife force. Although I am not as good as the Nyoxing god of war, I am already satisfied. The person I am now is 100 times, 1,000 times better than I was before. It's time to go, Shun Yuan. Turning back his thoughts, Shun Yuan nodded towards his companions, picked up the alloy helmet placed aside and put it on his head, pulled down the face shield, and suddenly an image of an elite soldier wearing a jet black alloy armor was reflected in the mirror. There were huge cheers all around, and countless Nyoxing people stood on both sides of the road waving red flags symbolizing Nyoxing. Shun Yuan watched the scene with his peripheral vision in the queue. until he passed by the high platform and met a sweeping glance. It was a middle-aged Noxian, wearing a military formal uniform, with a straight body and sharp eyes like a viper on Laxia. After the military parade, Shen Yuan was called into his office by Dukeo. "Xiao Yuan, please sit down for a while. After I finish processing this file, I will take you to a good place." Dukeo spoke kindly. He quite liked this boy who was determined, brave in battle, not arrogant, and had superb combat skills. Of course Shen Yuan would not object. After bowing, he found a corner and sat down, his figure still as straight as in the army. Finally, after waiting for more than half an hour, Dukeo finally finished processing the documents on hand and brought Shen Yuan to a scientific research institution. "Obuchi, I have read your combat data so far. Compared to melee assassination, your talent in long-range sniping is almost as good as the Kamigawa sniper I once had the pleasure of meeting. But hers is the product of super gene enhancement, and what you rely on is purely your own talent, so I got you a good thing." As he spoke, Dukeo opened a sensor door inside the research institute and led Shen Yuan to several researchers who had just assembled something. "How are things prepared?" "Already prepared." As he spoke, the scientific researcher stepped aside to reveal a heavy-duty sniper rifle with a hard shape and sharp edges on his back. Its length exceeded 1.5 meters. Before the researchers could speak, Dukeo spontaneously took on the responsibility of the commentator. The Godslayer heavy sniper rifle uses multiple electromagnetic acceleration tracks, which can ignore most environments and has a range of more than 7 kilometers. Equipped with a special model of God-killing armor-piercing bullets, even third-generation warriors will be severely damaged if they are accidentally hit in vital parts. There are also 3 God-killing No. 1 bombs with built-in micro-God-killing weapon engines, which can cause fatal wounds to third-generation super soldiers or first-generation gods. Because it was too difficult to make and too expensive, only 3 were made. Today I will give this important weapon to you, Xiao Yuan. You must not live up to its name. Even with Shen Yuan's character, I was inevitably a little excited at this moment, and I quickly performed a military salute. "Don't worry, I won't bury it." It wasn't until Dukeo watched Shen Yuan leave his sight that the friendly expression on his face disappeared. He turned around and followed the researchers to a hidden laboratory. I saw a repair cabin standing in the laboratory. Inside was a young girl with rare burgundy hair. At this moment, she closed her eyes tightly, as if she was asleep. "Qiangwei, please forgive my father for my behavior. For your future, waiting now is necessary." Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 570. Jarvan III of Dexing, Light Shield family, looked at his infant child with a kind smile on his face. "King, Prince Yaoan's vital signs are all normal. The specially developed heart of the Earth super gene is also fully prepared and can be implanted at any time." Jarvan III nodded, handed the infant baby to the attendant, and gave instructions. "Then I will entrust Yaoan to you. Safety must be the top priority." After saying this, Jarvan III watched the attendants take his son down, and then Jarvan III began to receive distinguished guests from the Sun civilization. General Pan Zhen came to visit on behalf of Liang civilization. It is really rude for me to fail to entertain him in time. As soon as Jarvan III came up, he confessed to Pan Zhen, and Pan Zhen immediately stood up from his seat and returned the favor. "No need to be polite, King Jian. Prince Yaoan of your country is born. As a father, it is the duty to stay by his side, but I am going to congratulate Dexing on the new prince." Jian III couldn't hide the smile on his face after hearing this. He then led Pan Zhen to a gorgeously decorated living room and sat across the table from Pan Zhen. Immediately, the waiter began to bring a variety of exquisite-looking snacks and drinks, placing them on the table between Jian III and Pan Zhen, and pouring wine for them. After doing all this, the waiter bowed politely and backed away slowly, then gently closed the door of the reception room. Jian 3 picked up the wine glass and spoke first to break the silence. "This glass of wine will be your blessing, General Pan Zhen." After saying this, Jian 3 took a sip of the wine in his glass, and Pan Zhen raised his glass in response. "King Jarvan seems to be very familiar with our Sun culture. This is not the etiquette of the Virtue Star." Pan Zhen put down his wine glass and asked. Jian 3 smiled and said, "These are the customs of the Liang that I learned from your Liang king when I was young. We were both still students at the college at that time, and naturally we got to know each other better after getting along for a long time." Pan Zhen didn't pick up the topic, because it would only lead to further distraction. Fortunately, he didn't go around in circles and directly expressed his intention. "King Jian, I will come to Dexing this time to continue negotiations on the alliance between Dexing and Liang. After my king's careful consideration, we Liang can become allies with Dexing to fight against Noxing together, but we Liang also have things that we need to guard against. At the same time, in order not to irritate Noxing too much and prevent conflicts from intensifying, please forgive us Liang for not being able to provide military and god-level assistance." Jian 3 did not feel too disappointed. Rather, it was almost as expected. He did not expect Liang to fully support the confrontation between Dexing and Noxing. The reason why he made the offer based on Invincible Body's technology was because he deliberately placed it as a bargaining chip to attract the attention of the Liang star civilization in the exchange of interests, in order to make the Liang civilization willing to come to Dexing to discuss cooperation with him. If they can't attract the attention of Liang people, how can they come to Dexing to talk to him about this matter? Now that Liang is unwilling to contribute, Jarvan 3 will also cut off the sharing of the Invincible Body technology. Pan Zhen or Liang King also knew that it was unrealistic for him to want to take the big prize even if he didn't want to take risks. The two parties did not get into more entanglements in this regard and moved past this topic in a tacit understanding. In the end, after negotiations between Jarvan 3 and Pan Zhen, the representative of Liang civilization announced that it had formed a strategic alliance and cooperation with Dexing. And in the near future, Liang will dispatch people with sufficient status to permanently station in Dexing to ensure this cooperative relationship between the two parties. The matter had actually been settled at this point, and Pan Zhen did not stay long before returning to Liang Star and reporting the details of the conversation to King Liang. Soon the Liang civilization announced the news of strategic cooperation with Dexing to form mutual allies. Who in the entire known universe had the biggest reaction to this news was undoubtedly Noxing. Originally, in the arms race with Dexing, they had already begun to completely suppress Dexing. As long as the wind direction of the Dexing system would completely shift to Dexing in a few decades, your Liang civilization actually participated. Some of Noxing's top executives couldn't help but hate Liang, and because of this sudden change, some of Noxing's actions couldn't help but restrain themselves a lot. After all, facing two god-making civilizations of the same level, Noxing's civilization was also under great pressure, but it was impossible to give up the plan to annex Dexing. Noxing began to think of ways to destroy the alliance between Liang and Dexing. Angel civilization, Binghua looked at the latest progress of the situation in the Dino galaxy and clicked his tongue twice. The Neo Star finally worked hard and wanted to make a big news, but it was completely messed up by Liang. Binghua has always paid close attention to the situation in Dino, knowing that sooner or later there will be a war between Dino, but due to surrounding or other reasons, Noxing has been patient and did not start a war. At the front end, the head of Noxing was still testing Kesh's words. After testing many times, he found that the angel civilization was not interested in intervening in the affairs of the Dino galaxy. The leader of Noxing, led by General Cao of Noxing, formulated a set of careful god-killing operations targeting the top leaders of Dexing, preparing to destroy Dexing's high-level command force in one fell swoop, thus defeating Dexing at once. But now that the Liang civilization has intervened, Nyoxing's god-killing operation is expected to be greatly delayed, but according to Binghua's estimation, it will never be cancelled, and more detailed intelligence angels will not be able to access it. After all, the technology of the Dinyo civilization is not weak, and it can interferes with the dark information scanning of the angel's eye of insight to a certain extent. Binghua continued to read through the useful information compiled by the civilization observation angels patrolling various star fields of the Order of Justice and filtered by the civilization observation department. Suddenly, a piece of information caused Binghua's expression to change, and a pair of beautiful eyebrows frowned slightly. The information clearly stated that a fallen person was suspected to have appeared in an area close to the border of the Justice Order. However, the civilized observation angel who reported this information did not gain much after investigating for a period of time, so he could only report the information he knew to Merlot Heavenly Court. Liang Bing. You have disappeared for almost 2,000 years, are you finally willing to appear now? Binghua murmured, and then extracted the location information from the message. Since even the civilized observation angel couldn't find anything, she would go and check it herself, because Binghua's intuition has always been very accurate. In addition, the fallen are also the pawns of the demonic civilization. The presence of them there means that the arrival of the demon is not far away. Binghua began to accelerate the transformation of the angel's divine body and low-level super warriors, so that the technology extended by the indestructible divine body could quickly arm the angel legion. Because the appearance of Liang Bing means that angels and demons will start a war again. For a new round of war, Binghua, as the military commander of the angels, must make all preparations. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 571. Queen, where have you been? I can't find you in the entire celestial city. Binghua was now wearing a black robe that almost covered his whole body. The clothes inside were no longer an angel armor, but a set of old yellowed tops and trousers, with pieces hanging on his body. Small pocket for stuffing. Jingle bell, jingle bell. As Binghua walked away, the small bell hanging on the top of the scepter in his hand was still ringing happily, echoing in the empty sky full of yellow sand. Listening to Jingnan's words in the communication, he felt the worry in it. Binghua just showed a faint smile. Don't worry about me, Jingnan, there is nothing in the entire known universe that can kill me silently. I'm just here to do something, and I'll probably go back in a few years. You don't have to worry about all the matters in Tiancheng, I'll handle them remotely. Binghua then listened to Jingnan complain for a while, and also accused Binghua of not taking her words with her. Binghua did not interrupt her, but listened quietly, occasionally humming once or twice. In the end, Jingnan also discovered his queen's perfunctory intentions and hung up the communication in a waning mood, but still told her that if anything happened, she must contact Tiancheng. It's really a harsh environment. What do the people living here rely on to survive? Binghua looked back at the footprints behind him that were gradually buried by the wind and sand, and thought in his heart, but as the most sophisticated war weapon in the known universe, Binghua could not empathize with the residents of this planet anyway. Even after walking for nearly 2 days, Binghua didn't even feel a drop of sweat on her body, and she didn't feel any burning sensation, let alone thirst, a warning that her body would only give when she was short of water. Finally, after another half day of trekking, the ground in Binghua's side finally began to undulate. It was a group of mountains and rocks rising from the ground, with no vegetation on the bare surface. But it can shield the residents hiding behind these rocks from the wind and sand, allowing them to have a more stable environment. Binghua slightly adjusted his direction and walked towards the rocky area. Binghua suddenly stopped and said with a hint of helplessness, After following me for hundreds of meters, you finally couldn't help it anymore. As soon as Binghua finished her words, the originally calm sand behind her suddenly bulged up, and then her body was covered with scale-like bone plates, more than 3 meters long, with a head that resembled a snake, and a ferocious monster with claws jumped out and opened its mouth. Its large mouth was densely packed with fangs, biting Binghua's head in front of him. This is a native beast of this planet, a top predator that lives near rocky areas. It usually lurks under the sand and attacks its prey, but it is obvious that it has found the wrong prey. The tail end of the tin stick in Binghua's hand had arrived in front of his open mouth at some point. The next moment, the tail end of the tin stick directly penetrated his mouth and penetrated his brain. Binghua then directly threw the tin staff and the body hanging on it away, and directly used material printing technology to create an identical tin staff. There were no other accidents on Binghua's journey to Shanyan. As soon as Binghua entered Shanyan, someone quickly opened a simple door made of unknown wood. Someone is coming. Someone is coming. A group of children in tattered clothes poured out of the wooden door and cheered around Binghua. Although Binghua had experienced it twice, he still felt a little fresh, and his mood became better because of the expectation and joy in the eyes of these children. Binghua sold everything he had on him in exchange for some alloy currency made of metal with a very crude manufacturing process. Sitting in front of a lit bonfire, surrounded by Sabaya people who gathered in twos and threes around the bonfire, they were called this name because the planet at the foot of the iceberg was called Sabaya in the records of the angels. Yaxing. This place is located at the outermost edge of the righteous order, and is the area with the least surveillance by angels. Therefore, when the fallen appeared on this planet, the angels did not immediately notice it. It wasn't until a few months later that a passing civilization observation angel captured traces of the fallen with his clairvoyance eyes, and discovered that they had invaded the planet. This is also the reason why Binghua came here alone. Investigating demonic civilization is different from other tasks, because among the fallen angels under Liang Bing, there are many former reconnaissance angels who are good at hiding their traces. It is useless to send ordinary angels here. If an angel of Ran's level is sent out, it will be easy for Liang Bing to set up a trap and kill him. Don't think it is difficult. Liang Bing has a celestial computing cloud-like demon number 1 in his hands. Turning a god-level angel into a being blind and deaf is a simple matter. So Binghua came here in person. Even if Liang Bing discovered her traces and came in person, Binghua was confident that she would be beaten to death. Even if she was temporarily defeated, she could retreat calmly. The human sea tactic had little effect on Binghua. Although Binghua's goal at the beginning was to find the disappeared demon civilization, after arriving on Sabaya, Binghua's goal has changed slightly. Do you believe in angels? Faced with the question of this wandering businessman who entered the gathering place, was very kind to children, and brought many urgently needed supplies, several Sabaya people sitting around the campfire who looked to be quite old answered enthusiastically. What is that? No one wants to believe that anymore. It's useless to believe in that kind of thing. We still have to rely on our own hands to survive. The answer was very similar to what Binghua had heard at the previous gathering places. Binghua felt sad, but he also understood the behavior of these people. However, Binghua subconsciously began to explain the story of angels and their ideas of justice, but the result was not ideal. The Sabaya people who listened to her were very unconcerned, thinking that it had nothing to do with them, and that no matter how good the angels were, they could not solve the problem. They faced harsh conditions and lack of food and clothing. So whether the universe is ruled by justice or evil has nothing to do with them, so the topic is quickly ignored. Binghua's interest was not too high. At this time, an old man with wrinkled skin and yellow skin came over. Seeing this, the others quickly saluted to show their respect and made room for him. What are you talking about? Let me, an old guy, get involved. She's talking about legends about angels. Some of them we've never heard of. A quick-talking Sabaya man immediately replied. As soon as the word angel appeared, the smiling expression on the old man's face began to slowly disappear. The old man fell into his own memories and sighed after a long time. Angels, their legends haven't been spread here for a long time. Girl, you look like you are a missionary, but I would like to advise you not to talk too much about angels in some places, because some gathering places are very exclusive about this aspect. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 572. Why is that? Angels encourage people to believe in justice, punish those who bully the weak, and bring judgment to the evil ones. Binghua's voice was a little confused. The order of justice did not care about the quality of the angelic civilization, but for those ordinary or even weak civilizations, it should be a talisman. Little girl, the justice you talk about is only suitable for those beings who can have enough food and clothing. We have tried our best to survive on this land, but there is still the heart to abide by the justice of angels. We will expel others who intrude here, and even if they starve to death in front of us, we will not let them set foot here. Do you think we have violated the justice of angels? The old man watched Binghua's reaction and spoke with a smile, but the words he spoke were extremely cruel. Binghua remained silent, and the old man seemed to have opened the painting box and continued. According to the justice of angels, we have committed the crime of bullying the weak, but there are reasons why we must do this. If we don't expel those outsiders, our already difficult existence will become even more difficult. As you can see, this place is very small and cannot support extra people. Therefore, we can only be ruthless to prevent people from starving to death in our settlement. In some settlements, the people there are not just expelling people like us. They will capture outsiders and make them into food reserves, and they will even take the initiative to attack other surrounding settlements. So, we really don't have the conditions to believe in angels, because angels can't give us anything. If believing in an angel can change our lives for the better, I will be the first to believe in her. Binghua just listened silently and did not interrupt the words of the old man Sabaya. However, a doubt arose in her heart. Is Kesha's justice order really influential enough for the civilization within the range? Or can the just order that angels have dedicated their lives to uphold really protect the civilizations under its banner and make them live a better life? However, it is obvious that Binghua did not feel the protection of the justice order for the Sabaya people on the Sabaya planet, and even hindered the survival of the Sabaya people in some aspects. Even the belief in angels, which is spread throughout the scope of the righteous order, cannot be widely spread in the sea of sand, and can only remain in the oral traditions of the older generation. Binghua saw that the old man Sabaya was quite knowledgeable, so he asked again. Have you ever heard of a demon? The old man Chaboyaya, who was still talking incessantly, suddenly changed his expression and stopped talking. He looked at Binghua with his slightly cloudy eyes, and his voice lost its previous enthusiasm. Who are you? I'm just a wandering businessman, who else can I be? Binghua did not change his tone because of the change in the old man's attitude. He was still as calm as when he asked before. Little girl, there must be something special about you walking alone on the sand without being taken away by the god of wind. However, I still advise you not to get involved in anything related to demons, otherwise no one will collect your body when the time comes. It seems you know something. If you tell me, I will give you something you urgently need. Binghua's eyes lit up. She had been wandering around this planet for almost a year, and this was the first time she had seen someone react to the devil in such a big way. I don't know about demons, so don't ask me. Unfortunately, the old man didn't appreciate it and ended the topic directly. However, Binghua did not give up. She knew that the old man would not tell her the devil's information unless she showed some special abilities. So in the old man's eyes, this kind-hearted wandering merchant girl stretched out her delicate hands hidden behind her black robe. The next moment, the old man's eyes widened. Because in that white and smooth palm, scorching red lines appeared, quickly outlining the shape of a dagger, and then the lines dissipated, and a real dagger was quietly placed across Binghua's palm. As you can see, I am not an ordinary person, so demons are no threat to me. As long as you tell me about demons, I can give your settlement a batch of supplies that are enough for you to use for a month as payment. Binghua's voice was like the temptation of the devil, and the old man looked hesitant. He had buried that secret in his heart for too long and had never planned to reveal it to the outside world, but Binghua's offer was too generous. 1 month's worth of supplies can even be used for 2 months if used sparingly, which is enough to prevent people from freezing to death and starving to death due to lack of food and clothing in their settlement this winter. Seeing that the old man was showing signs of relenting, Binghua did not increase the amount of supplies, because sometimes having too much supplies on this harsh planet was not necessarily a good thing. Binghua just said softly in a voice that only she and the old man could hear. I'm going to judge them, so there's no need to feel burdened. This is my duty and task. Hearing Binghua's words, the old man didn't react at first, but after about 2 seconds, his expression suddenly changed drastically. He looked at Binghua with deep shock and disbelief in his eyes, and he almost wiped his eyes with his hands. It was obvious that the old man was also a smart man. He connected Binghua's previous words with her current words and guessed Binghua's identity, which was the legendary angel. The relationship between angels and demons is like the incarnation of justice and evil. The two are incompatible. Whenever a demon appears, it means that the arrival of an angel is not far away. The old man tried hard to control his emotions. Since the angel lady had already shown her sincerity, if he hesitated, it would only show his lack of appreciation. That was more than 10 years ago, and I was not from this settlement at that time. It was a large settlement that was nearly 10 times larger than this one. We have well-organized guards and hunting teams, and can even be self-sufficient to a certain extent, but all of this was reduced to ashes in the hands of those demons from the sky. The cause of all this is that our tribe's hunting team picked up a strange metal creation from outside. As long as you press the raised button on the surface, a very coquettish-looking person with metal wings on his back will appear in the air. Woman picture. We didn't believe it at first, saying that as long as we believed in her, we would gain powerful power and immortal life. The old god Qi in the settlement even said that it was the devil's temptation, and that we should destroy this thing immediately. But we tried many methods, but couldn't destroy it, and finally it was sealed by the old god Qi. But in a conflict with another settlement, our settlement was defeated. The hunting team was wiped out, and that settlement was famous for its brutality. For the continuation and survival of the settlement, our leader took out the sealed metal creation despite the obstruction of the old god Qi, and chose to believe in that charming woman, the demon king Morgana. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 573. When the old man mentioned that their former leader believed in the demon king Morgana, he had a look of pain on his face, and it was obvious that what happened later filled him with pain. The settlements that were hostile to us were destroyed, but this was not without cost. Our leader has changed. He has become extremely cruel, just like a different person. At the same time, his appearance has also changed, becoming extremely ferocious and powerful. He forced the powerful men and women in the settlement to believe in the demon king, and any disobedience would lead to death. Until a group of demons descended from the sky and killed all the old people and children in the settlement. Some of my companions and I, who still had conscience, chose to resist. But our resistance is like a joke. Those demons are invulnerable. Killing us is as easy as slaughtering livestock. No, slaughtering livestock requires some effort. To kill us, they only need to point in our direction with something in their hands. It will emit purple light. Then there would be an inexplicable hole in my companion's chest. In the end, we couldn't even kill a single demon, and I was the only one who survived and ended up here. The old man did not elaborate on how he survived, and Binghua was not interested. She was only curious about the special metal creation in the old man's words that could make Morgana's image appear in the air. Is the thing that can make the Demon King Morgana appear still there? It should be. I didn't see those demons take that thing. Tell me, and I will give those demons the judgment they deserve. There was a hint of coldness in Binghua's voice, and she was very angry at Liang Bing's behavior of indulging his subordinates and developing beliefs. After all, in her image, Liang Bing was only established because he wanted to be independent and had different ideas from Kesha. Demonic civilization, the two sides are just fighting over ideas. But judging from the demons he had personally come into contact with these few times, Liang Bing did not bring the beautiful qualities of an angel to the demons. In the past, it could be explained that in order to fight against the angel civilization, he had no time to control the nature of those demons. Now that more than 1,000 years have passed, for such a long time, without the pressure of the angel civilization, Liang Bing definitely has time to rectify the demon's atmosphere, but now the demon seems to be becoming more and more chaotic. The old man just pointed out a direction to Binghua and told Binghua that if he walked towards that area for more than 10 days, he would reach his former settlement. After that, the old man fell into silence. It seemed that because he remembered the past, the original smile on his face no longer existed. Instead, he stared at the burning bonfire with a dull expression. The night passed quietly like this. Binghua packed her bags early in the morning. In fact, there was nothing to pack. She picked up the tin stick and prepared to hit the road. She planned to walk there like this. The reason for this is just in case. If you use dark energy or fly, it will be very conspicuous on this planet that is still in the cold weapon civilization. If you are accidentally seen by the demons, they will be scared away. The universe is so big. She also went there to look for traces of the devil. Even walking on foot, with Binghua working day and night and her body not feeling tired, it only took 3 days for Binghua to reach the settlement ruins mentioned by the old settlement man. The reason why it is so easy to find is because on Sabaya, most settlements will only settle in rock groups, and the rock groups are very eye-catching in the sand, so as long as the general direction is correct, generally neither will get lost. Binghua faced the mountain area in front of him without any ink, and directly opened his eyes of insight. By reading the dark information here, he could trace back everything that had happened here. The computing power of the third-generation god is comparable to that of a large supercomputer, so it is not difficult to read the general information of this area in the past few decades. And if ordinary third-generation angels don't have the computing power to support the sacred knowledge treasure house of the angel celestial computer Kesha, they simply can't achieve the level of Binghua. This is one of the reasons why Binghua has experienced it personally. Found it? The white light in Binghua's eyes dissipated, and he immediately began to walk towards a dilapidated stone house. Binghua raised his arm, which was covered by a black robe, and the invisible force field energy spread and wrapped around the dilapidated house. Immediately, the house turned into fragments and was lifted up by invisible force, followed by the ground and sand. It was not until a metal cone with a technological sense appeared and flew into Binghua's hand that Binghua removed the energy field, and the house fragments suddenly disappeared. It fell to the ground with a clatter. This should be the metal creation. I wonder if we can use this thing to find the devil's lair. Bing whispered, and then began to invade the device. In a moment, the function and structure of this thing were understood by Binghua. To put it simply, this thing is a screening device that integrates screening, positioning, and strengthening. It can determine whether the creatures near the device believe in demons through changes in people's emotions. It can also target the Kamigawa creatures holding this device. To strengthen the genes of inferior demons. The reason why Binghua calls it inferior is because the creature that accepts the enhancement will become a fallen person. If certain hidden conditions are met, a positioning signal will be sent to notify the unknown demon civilization to come and accept new members. Excluding some of the things that are not in line with the angel's moral philosophy, I have to say that this is an extremely efficient screening method. But that's not what Binghua is concerned about now. He directly skips all the prerequisites of the device in his hand and lets the device enter the final signal transmission stage. I hope you won't keep me waiting too long. After Binghua finished speaking, he threw away the device, found a place with leeward wind and sat down against the rock wall. His entire body was almost covered by the large black robe on his body, and Binghua directly entered sleep mode. However, a warning algorithm was written in advance using the flaming sword with a weapon engine. If there are demons, or other civilizations' spaceships, or super soldiers, entering this area, Binghua will wake up from hibernation. The stars in the sky rise in the east and set in the west, and huge storms break out on the sandy ground every once in a while, and sometimes thin rain falls. In the blink of an eye, this mountain rock was covered with white snow again, and then melted under the rapidly heating weather, and there was a touch of green inside the mountain rock. After the scene was repeated several times, Binghua, who was sleeping, suddenly opened her eyes one day because something broke into the warning circle she had set. Then Binghua opened the eye of insight to collect what happened here during the period of her dormancy, and then took a look at the sky. A small black spaceship was found parked in the atmosphere area. Several demons wearing black simple combat uniforms flew down from the spacecraft and landed in the area where Binghua was. Now that the leader has arrived, it's time for me to get up and move around. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 574. Kima, do you think our signal receiver made a mistake this time? How can there be followers of the Queen in this useless place? The demon holding the signal receiving projector in his hand looked down at the dilapidated scene below and said to his companion beside him, only to find that his companion looked like you are talking nonsense. What do you think I'm doing? I can't fix this crap. The two demons spoke with their mouths and landed on the ground. They followed the instructions of the signal receiver and walked in one direction with relaxed expressions. This planet is full of indigenous people holding cold weapons. They are gods here. Can you give me your spaceship? I'm curious about where you come from. Just as the two demons were slowly approaching their target point, a plain female voice came into their ears from the side. Who is there? Get out immediately. The two demons, who had been extremely relaxed just now, immediately tensed up. Almost at the same time, they raised the weapons hanging on their bodies and pointed them in the direction of the sound. They also dropped the signal receiving projector in their hands and threw it on the ground. Dense square blocks of color appeared in the air, and as they continued to flip, a figure whose whole body was almost covered by a black robe appeared on the collapsed building debris. She sat there quietly, but the hearts of the two demons were filled with confusion. There was an inexplicable sudden movement, as if two guns were pointed at their heads. Who are you? Don't you see it? What about this? Binghua suddenly felt an inexplicable interest in playing, and the black robe on her body turned into particles and dissipated, and her heroic and delicate face was exposed to the devil's sight. Hey, she's quite pretty. One of the demons who was pointing a gun at Binghua praised him, but the other demon on the side was shaking all over. Judging from the violent rise and fall of his chest, it seemed that it was becoming difficult to breathe. Hey, Lot, do you have any ideas? It's rare to meet such a beautiful one. It didn't matter what he said. Kima immediately noticed something strange about his companion, so he asked with concern. Hey, what's wrong with you? Are you excited? You're so excited, we're dead today. We're dead. Binghua stood up, and her silky black hair rippled slightly on her back under the breeze, like an open black curtain. Binghua did not take action against these two demons, but looked at the small demon spacecraft parked high in the sky, then raised his hand and pointed it at the sky, importing the gravity drive formula. In the blink of an eye, a huge downward pulling force appeared, and the demon spacecraft parked at high altitude suddenly spun and fell to the ground. There was a gunshot, and a solid purple beam of light shot out from the muzzle, but in the demon's widened eyes, Binghua casually slapped it with his palm and scattered it into energy particles, which exploded. Now the demon who fired the gun finally understood why his companion looked so frightened. It was obvious that the person in front of him was someone he could not afford to offend. He immediately threw the gun away and knelt down on the ground, begging for mercy. "Auntie, have mercy on me. We were both blind and didn't recognize you. Please look at the way we sincerely beg for mercy, and just pretend you didn't see us." The demon spaceship in the sky crashed directly onto the ground. Binghua lowered his head and looked at the two demons begging for mercy with interest. "You are quite interesting. This is the first time I have seen you so aware of current affairs. But if you want me to let you go, it depends on whether you have violated the law of justice and order." After saying this, Binghua's eyes glowed with white light and he began to read the information on the two demons. "You are from the Kerbalo galaxy, and you have also been interstellar pirates, but you are not directly demons of Morgana." Binghua put away his inside eyes, shook his head with regret, raised his hand and shot out two flaming swords from the void, impaling the two demons begging for mercy to the ground. "It's not that I won't let you go, but the sins you have committed make it impossible for me to let you slip away in front of me." After doing this, Binghua walked toward the spaceship that had crashed to the ground, began to invade the spacecraft system, and read the data line information in it. "By reading the ice flower, I learned the location of the Kerbalo planet system, and even the superior of these two demons, a demon who was called the Demon Archduke by his demons. His name was Satirian, one of several subordinates of the Demon King. One of the most powerful demons. This also created a noble class. It seems that Liangbing hasn't just been playing around in these years." After collecting what he wanted, Binghua directly used the microstar driver to create a ball of ion flow and threw it over, melting the Devil's small spacecraft into a pool of irregular fluid. In the settlement, Binghua looked at one of the several more signs in the cemetery and sighed. "I have found one of the Devil's lairs and am preparing to bring them judgment from angels, but I didn't expect that you are no longer here. I originally wanted to tell you this good news, but don't worry, demons are separate things from the angel civilization, and we angels have the obligation to kill all chaotic demons." After Binghua finished speaking, she turned around and left. Just as she came quietly, she also left quietly, without any Sabaya people noticing her. From the Noxing Sharp Sword Special Operations Force, Shun Yuan looked at the Dexing spear leading the Dexing sword soldiers through the god-killing locking system in his hand. According to Noxing's information, Dexing Gun is the adjutant of the power of Kamigawa, and is responsible for commanding the defending army when the power of Kamigawa is away. Today, as usual, the power of Kamigawa was taken away by the Noxing god of war for a one-on-one challenge, and the remaining elite armies of both sides began to compete with each other. In fact, since Liang civilization announced that it had become an ally with Dexing and sent the next generation crown prince of Liang to serve as an envoy to Dexing, the number of conflicts between the two sides has been much less. However, the competition of high-end combat power has never stopped. Although Nyoxing is warlike, he also understands that for today's Nyoxing, it is best not to start the war lightly, otherwise Nyoxing is likely to fall into an absolute disadvantage. Therefore, they are one of the few truce factions among the top leaders of Nyoxing. However, the main war faction headed by General Cao wants to quickly eliminate the senior leaders and high-level combat power of Dexing through sophisticated god-killing operations with a small and powerful approach. Create an established fact, by then even if Liang wants to intervene in the war in the Dino system, it will be too late. Shun Yuan accepted the special order from General Cao and looked for opportunities to snipe the adjutant Dexing's gun of the power of Kamigawa on the battlefield in order to weaken Dexing's strength. Shun Yuan frowned deeply as he stared at the figure of the German star gun in the locked frame, which was like a flash of light, running back and forth among the Nyo star warriors. This German star spear is worthy of being the product of the degradation of the three major god-making projects. Although it does not have the powerful divine body of the power of the divine river, it is extremely fast, as if all the skills are focused on it. Shun Yuan could only continue to observe, and the locking frame moved closely with the movement trajectory of the German star gun. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 575. And the German star gun, who was fighting in and out of the Noxing battle group, had no idea at this moment that a deadly sniper was already targeting him. Relying on its own special energy injection technology and algorithm, Dexing's gun was like yellow lightning, passing by an ordinary super soldier named Noxing, and harvesting their lives one by one with the lance reflecting the cold metal light in its hand. Damn, you are a monkey that can only jump up and down, but you have the ability to fight me head on. A tall Nox soldier with a fierce face, wearing a standard armor representing the Noxian sharp knife and holding a wide war blade, challenged the Dexing gun. The German star spear snorted, turning the spear in his hand with a golden energy lightning strike, cutting an ordinary Nox star super soldier on the side into two pieces. Your grandfather, I will go over and take your head right now. As soon as the words fell, the German star spear crossed the distance between the two sides, and the spear, wrapped in golden energy lightning, pierced out like an unloaded cannonball. This Nyosin sharp sword had no intention of retreating at all. The jet-black war blade swung forward to meet the thrusting spear. The next moment, a loud noise suddenly appeared, and a burst of air blasted away. The surrounding soldiers who were close to him were caught off guard, and some even he stumbled on the spot. But soon the sharp-eyed Nyosin soldiers discovered that the Nyosin sharp knife colleague who had just challenged the German star spear also rolled and flew out, landed on the ground, rolled over, stood up immediately, and spat out two words. Strong enough. Shun Yuan, who was observing from a distance, saw clearly just now that his colleague actually took the shot from the German star spear, but due to the difference in genetic models between the two sides, he was pushed back by more than 10 meters. The German star spear's face showed no joy in repelling the enemy, because the power of the Nyo star sharp saber was beyond his expectation. He has killed a lot of Nyoshin John Dao before, but they were all easy. This is the first Nyoshin John Dao who has not fallen after a direct blow from him. Then the two sides stopped talking nonsense and rushed toward each other. After several loud noises of weapons collision, the German star gun discovered the special feature of the Nyoxing sharp saber. His body was extremely resistant to beatings and was extremely strong. He was about to be in a even though we were absolutely downwind, we were not greatly affected by the backlash. But that was all. The German star spear no longer had to worry about energy consumption, and its speed suddenly increased several times, turning into golden lightning and rushing towards the wounded Nyoxing sharp knife soldier. Shun Yuan, who was several kilometers away, had already pulled the trigger of killing the gods before. A blue lightning flashed at the muzzle, and a slender silver conical bullet, thicker than a thumb, penetrated the gun. It shattered the air and left a spreading cloud of sonic boom behind. As if calculated in advance, as soon as the German star spear rushed in front of his opponent, he flew backwards. At the same time, the eyes of the surrounding Nox star soldiers were reflected in the spreading blood. The Nyosin soldiers around him were overjoyed to see this scene. No matter who did it, this was such a relief. This guy who was running rampant among them and no one could control him finally overturned. Immediately, a Noxian soldier shouted, "Come on, brothers. Hum him." Shun Yuan slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air, and his mind relaxed from a state of high concentration. I just feel tired, not physically but mentally. He is not a Kamigawa sniper with built-in auxiliary locking and prejudgment calculations. Any required data needs to be calculated by himself. At the same time, it is also necessary to speculate on the next action of the spear of Kamigawa. The Nyoxing sharp knife warrior who blocked the spear of Kamigawa has made a great contribution, otherwise Shun Yuan would not be able to deduce what the spear of Kamigawa plans to do next. The gun of Dexing fell, which made the military of Dexing very angry, but it was of no use. It was originally a small-scale conflict, and both sides acquiesced not to use the three major god-making projects. The Dexing gun is not part of the three major god-making projects. It initially made Nyoxing's battle group sick and wanted to vomit. The Nyoxing military also warned Dexing, but the Dexing military said that the Dexing gun was not part of the three major god creation projects. He refuted Nyoxing's reasons and still went his own way. So Shun Yuan received the task of sniping the Dexing gun. General Ka also allowed him to use the god-killing bullet, and then he completed the task. After Shun Yuan completed his mission, he was appreciated by the Nyo Star military. He was no longer limited to General Cao and a Nyo Star general. The Nyo Star war god even extended an olive branch to Shun Yuan and invited him to be his adjutant. Even a few high-ranking officials in the military are interested in developing super genes for subsequent models of the Nyoxing sharp knife that can snipe and kill a generation of gods, that is, the first generation god-making project, to continue to increase the high-end combat power of Nyoxing. Although Shun Yuan was happy on the surface for the glory he had received, he didn't have much real feeling in his heart. He had no relatives in Nyoxing, let alone any real friends, and even fought alone. If General Kaya hadn't appreciated him, he might still be just an ordinary Nox super soldier, charging on the front line. Shun Yuan initially fought with an indifferent attitude towards the Dexing people, but when Dexing and Liang civilization announced that they had become allies, Shun Yuan's view of the Dexing people suddenly changed. Liang is too far away from the Dino star system, and Shun Yuan cannot see the possibility of a war between Nyoxing and Liang. Now that Dexing, an ally of Liang, can suffer heavy losses, Shun Yuan feels a desire for revenge in his heart. Pleasure. Of course, it's just a trace of an illusion. After all, there is still a big gap between Dexing and Liang people in Shun Yuan's heart. Xiao Yuan, this time the mission of sniping the German star gun was completed perfectly. Now let's see how those German star people continue to be rampant. General Cao brought Shun Yuan into his office, closed the door, sat back in his seat, and praised Shun Yuan. This all depends on your training, General Kaya. Kaya just smiled and did not continue the topic, but turned to speak. Xiao Yuan, what do you think of Liang civilization? Shun Yuan felt a sudden thought, but did not panic. He chose the most popular theory in Nyoxing. Report to the general, the Liang people are openly provoking our star, Nyoxing, and they don't take us seriously at all. If possible, General, I would be happy to teach the Sunlanders a lesson. Xiao Yuan, you are right. The Liang people have really ignored the interests of our Nyoxing this time. However, we, the Nyoxing, are not helpless. We have already contacted the Thunderblade and the Aslan people. At that time, we were working hard from behind, and Liang was too busy to take care of himself. Let's see how he could reach into the Dino system. General Cao's tone was firm, and he did not put much emphasis on Liang's civilization in his words. Tukao was mistaken before, now his name is Cao. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 576. In fact, Liang's Tiandao galaxy is far away from the Dino galaxy. If Liang intervenes in the war between Dino, there must be a civilization to support it, otherwise it will easily be defeated. General Cao's plan was to create a time difference so that Liang could not react in time. By then, everything would be a foregone conclusion. Even if Liang had any ideas, he would have nowhere to use them. Xiao Yuan, you are now the strongest strategic sniper in our Nyoxing. I came to you this time for the god-killing operation against Dexing. I have convinced your excellency the head of state that Crown Prince Li Yang will visit Dexing again after returning to Dexing in a while. When the time comes, Jarvan III and the power of Kamigawa will leave the most heavily defended palace on Dexing and go to the starport to greet him. The mission of you and other Nyoxing sharp knife troops is to kill Jarvan III. The power of Shenhe will be held back by the Nyoxing god of war first, and finally he will be dealt with. As long as Jarvan III falls, the power of Kamigawa will be unable to support itself, and Dexing will fall into a leaderless situation. We at Noxing just take advantage of this opportunity to bring Dexing under control. Ka told Shun Yuan roughly about his plan, omitting all the details, but even so, Shun Yuan couldn't help but slow down. For this god-killing operation, the Nyoxing god-killing martial development team provided many new types of equipment to the Nyoxing military. In fact, there are still a few models that cannot be mass-produced, such as god-killing crossbows, god-killing armor-piercing bullets, god-killing warblades, and dark alloy armor. Among them, the dark alloy armor has almost exhausted the reserves of Noxing's dark iron. The origin of dark alloy, a special metal, can be traced back to the period of cooperation between the Angel civilization and the Super Seminary. Noxing once obtained a share of dark iron. After a long period of development by Nyoxing researchers, they have developed a dark alloy that can block the current mainstream dark information scanning and detection methods in the known universe. To put it simply, in dark information scanning, warriors wearing dark alloy armor are invisible and cannot be detected. This technology has been hidden by Nyoxing for many years and has not been known to other civilizations. Because this time it was a god-killing operation against Dexing, Nyoxing decided to take out this extremely cutting-edge technology in the known universe and equip it with Nyoxing sharp knife troops. After all, this was a god-killing operation against an advanced god-making civilization. If successful, it will be recorded in the history of Nox and the universe. Li Yang Star, De Hunkin looked at his son, his successor, the next sun god, and patted his shoulder. When you go to Dexing this time, as the crown prince of Li Yang, you must not lose the momentum of our Li Yang. Remember to learn more from Jarvan III. Although that old guy has a gentle personality, he is extremely clever in his methods and is very good at balance. When he was in the college, he had a wide range of friends, and there were many students who were close to him. He was a prominent figure in the college at that time. Although we, Li Yang, are now one of the three major god-making civilizations in the known universe, we also have many enemies. Thunderblade and Aslan all need to be vigilant. There is also the Jiaya clan who has been hiding in the dark. They have always been resentful of us, the Li Yang clan, dominating the Li Yang star. I have a premonition that one day, sooner or later, they will return to the Li Yang star and shake the authority of our Li Yang clan. Father, I will study hard. Crown Prince Li Yang promised his father with a smile, and then boarded the Li Yang battleship under the escort of the 4 elephant guards, and embarked on the journey to Dexing under the watch of Emperor Hunkin. Although he has visited Dexing several times, De Hunkin still comes to Li Yang starport to bid farewell to his son every time. Boom! A violent explosion flashed past the corner of an ordinary palace-like space battleship, and the corpses of several demons were floating randomly in the vacuum of space. Quick! Quick! Form a defensive formation. We must not let that angel attack. A demon wearing a full set of jet black combat armor commanded his demon team and set up a defense line in the passage inside the ship. But the next moment, the feather-shaped flying blades shimmering with silver cold light cut through the air and the metal passage wall, piercing through these demons. Until their death, they could not see where the angel they wanted to block was. Binghua walked leisurely inside the demon's large battleship, surrounded by silver feathers that were constantly flying around her. From time to time, these silver feathers turned into a silvery cold light that streaked through the air and penetrated the thick metal of the passage inside the ship. Wall strangled the demon in the other passage to death. The demons had nothing to do about this. The array of micro-wormholes that could travel through a certain distance of space at will was something only the Queen's Demon number 1 was equipped with. They didn't have it at all, so they could only use the stupidest way to use their lives. Grand Duke, we can't stop that angel at all. She has already killed nearly 1,000 of our soldiers. Satyrine was extremely angry at this moment. As a great demon whose status was second only to the Demon King Morgana, he was called the Archduke of Demons. He had never been subjected to this kind of bird-like attitude. He was beaten by an angel and was brought home. How could he do anything about it? Nothing. Continue the attack. Even if all the soldiers are dead, we have to repel her, otherwise we won't be able to run away. Strian roared, and then summoned his guard demons. This was what he learned from the angels. He gathered the elite around him to act as guards to prevent the enemy's beheading tactics. In fact, Sadrian had the idea in his heart to replace Morgana as the king of demons, but because his demonic genes were controlled by Morgana, he had to obey her orders. But even so, Satyrine has developed a powerful demon force, with hundreds of thousands of regular demon warriors under his command, and hundreds of millions of fallen ones. Morgana was not afraid of Satyrine's growing power. Instead, she praised him for his great contribution to the development of demonic civilization and gave him the right to develop freely. This is also where Satyrine feels Morgana is incompetent, and why a replacement will be born. The morale is quite good. I killed so many people and they didn't collapse. Binghua commented when he saw the demons coming from the passage ahead, but the movements in his hands were not affected at all. A flaming sword was carried out, and Binghua raised it above his head. Red light seeped out through the red blade, illuminating the passage in red. Firebombing formula import. As Binghua waved the sword in his hand, the huge energy turned into a giant sword energy and cut forward, passing through the bodies of the demons along the way, cutting through the metal wall of the passage, flying out of the battleship, and chasing those who followed from the side. A demonic medium-sized battleship cut off part of its hull before exploding. Binghua, who was in the passage of the large demon battleship, was slightly covering her face with her hands. Because she cut a huge gap in the passage of the ship, the gas in the passage was like water being pumped out by a water pump. Quickly suck into the vacuum of space outside. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 577. Binghua then pushed forward, killing whatever she saw. Any demon that appeared within her sight and range of perception could not escape the fate of death. In fact, Binghua's main attention was focused on the leader of the demon fleet, the demon archduke. Seeing that he never escaped, he slowly killed him all the way. Otherwise, Binghua only needs a few major trials to destroy most of the demon fleet. The reason for this is because Binghua learned through dark information reading that the demon archduke Satyrine has never been very good under Morgana's command. Be at ease. Binghua has an idea in his mind, but he is currently considering whether to implement it, because this is different from the angel's idea, but it will be of great benefit to the war between angels and demons. Finally, while Binghua was thinking and killing all the way, she finally arrived at the core part of the demon flagship, which was also the hall where the demon archduke Satyrine used to summon his subordinates and issue orders. Binghua finally recovered from his distracted state and saw a tall demon with a pair of bone demon wings behind his back and a pair of curved horns sitting on a metal throne with a carved skull at the other end of the hall. Below it were hundreds of demons who looked much more advanced than ordinary demon warriors, looking at him warily. It seems that you are the demon archduke Strian, as the devil calls him, and the appearance seems quite similar. But he is still far from the strength to become the king of demons. Binghua commented with an inexplicable meaning in his tone, which made the demon archduke Strian, who was waiting for him, very strange. Angels should destroy demons with thunder as soon as they come up. So what happened to this ridiculously strong angel? The demon archduke suddenly had a look on his face and quickly checked his memory information. Soon his expression changed. He finally knew why he always felt that the face of this powerful angel was a bit familiar. Strian almost cursed, not looking for the angel's holy left wing that he had suppressed from the demon king Morgana. Morgana, why did you find him here? Oh. Judging from your reaction, you should have recognized me, which will make it easier to deal with some of the things we need to talk about next. But before that, these demons under your command are too redundant. Hiawa didn't have a good impression of chaotic demons, and she didn't care even if killing the elite demons present would affect the success rate of her plan. As Binghua's words fell, the hundreds of silver feathers hovering around him immediately turned into silver streams of light, spinning forward and strangling away. Like a blooming metal bud, countless silver feathers created a dead space in this hall. Before these hundreds of elite demons had time to disperse, they were penetrated through their bodies and turned into several segments, and died on the spot. Yin Yu was not very effective in the battle with Liang Bing. That was because Liang Bing was proficient in micro-wormhole transportation technology and could quickly change positions. Yin Yu was not as fast as Liang Bing's thinking time. Therefore, Yin Yu cannot catch up with Liang Bing at all, let alone strangle him, so it seems that Yin Yu in Binghua's arsenal is very ordinary. However, although Yin Yu, a weapon made of dark silver as the main material, does not have the ability to attack super genes, its sharpness allows it to ignore almost any physical defense. With Binghua's current computing speed, Yin Yu's flying speed is extremely fast. Anyone who cannot keep up with Yin Yu's speed will be no different from a fish on a sticky board in front of Yin Yu. Therefore, in terms of abuse of food, Yin Yu can be called a dimensionality-reducing blow to demons. These more than 100 elite demons were upgraded by the demon civilization at the expense of a lot of resources. A single one of them can compete with the second-generation angels. The best among them could probably fight even 3 generations of angels with several moves, but today they were all slaughtered by Binghua in less than a minute. Seeing that all the wealth he had saved for hundreds of years was slaughtered by Binghua, Strian's eyes turned red with anger. He twisted the sword placed beside the throne, spread his wings behind his back, and a dull purple energy filled the air. The light in the entire hall seemed to become dimmer. Even if you are the holy left wing, I want you to die today. The performance of the gene engine is quite high, and it can actually support this level of energy drive, but it is still too low for me. Binghua did not drive Silver Feather to attack Satirian. Faced with the sword coming at him with dark purple energy, Binghua directly stretched out his hand and stopped the falling of the sword blade with just his fingers. Then Binghua used her knuckles to use dark energy to seep out of the sword along the fingertips that were stuck on the surface of the giant sword. Binghua twisted her wrist to cooperate with the structure of the sword being destroyed by the seeping dark energy. The sword in Satirian's hand was actually destroyed. Binghua was broken into pieces. This made Strian's hair-colored mind cool down quickly as if a basin of cold water had been poured on it. He looked at the broken sword in his hand and was stunned. The next moment, a huge force hit his abdomen, and his whole body fell backwards. It flew out, going back and forth from where it came. Before Sadrian could get up again, Binghua fell from the sky. A foot directly stepped heavily on his back, forcing Sadrian's newly propped body into the alloy ground. What I do next may be a little inhumane, but I don't need to be humane with you devils. I have read your data and you are very dissatisfied with Morgana's dominance over the demonic civilization. You think her careless look is not what a king should look like at all. I also deeply agree with this point, so I will give you a chance to be the king of demons. Do you want it? After Binghua finished speaking, without waiting for Strian to object, his eyes immediately glowed with white light, forcibly linking Strian's genetic system and genetic engine. The invasion has been successful, the original logic algorithm is being destroyed, and the dark plane records are being modified. After more than 10 seconds, Binghua had used her own computing power to modify and disguise Strian's dark information records during this period. Normal dark information reading could not see what she was doing now. The new logic algorithm is being implanted, the data is imported successfully, and the memory file is imported successfully. After doing all this, Binghua moved his foot away from Sadrian's body, turned around and walked towards Sadrian's demon throne. He turned around and stood down, resting his cheek on his propped-up arm, quietly waiting for Sadrian's kiss. Wake. After about a few minutes, Sadrian shook his head with two curved horns and looked around. When he saw Binghua, his expression changed and he quickly got up, half kneeling on the ground in the direction of Binghua. Strian has met Her Majesty the Queen. Please forgive me for being clumsy and bumping into you, Queen. Binghua raised his eyebrows slightly. Liang Bing's thought rewriting technology was really powerful. Just by implanting a new set of logical algorithms and memory data, it could actually rewrite a creature's personality. But at the same time, this technology is a bit useless, because it can only rewrite creatures that are far weaker than itself. If Strian was not a demon and had almost no genetic firewall, Binghua would not be able to rewrite his thoughts. Whether it is on the Kidian main site or a book friend on an external site, if you can support subscribing if conditions permit, the author would be grateful. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 578. It's okay. I'm looking for you this time to ask you, where is Morgana now? At this moment, Strian completely lost his previous irritable and arrogant look, and replied fearfully. Queen, I don't know about this either. Morgana summons us great demons once every 100 years to give instructions on the development plan for the next 100 years. It has been more than 50 years since the last time we big demons were summoned. According to the usual practice, it will be more than 40 years before Morgana summons us. Binghua frowned when she heard this. When she read the data information recorded by Sadarian in the dark plane, although she saw the scene of him meeting Morgana, there was nothing in it about Morgana being there. Information. It seems that Liang Bing deliberately concealed his whereabouts and did not want these demons to know. He probably learned that angels have the ability to read dark messages and was afraid that the demons under his command would find him, so he took precautions. In this case, you can continue to lead your demon fleet to develop in this area, but you are not allowed to disturb those ordinary civilizations. When Morgana summons you again, notify me immediately. Binghua immediately changed her mind. Since she couldn't find any trace of Liang Bing right away, she would use this time to prepare well so that she could kill Liang Bing and all the big demons under her command. You are the queen, I will obey your orders. Strian spoke respectfully, his expression humble and completely devoid of any trace of the demon's irritability and confusion. Your weapons are too outdated. I'll give you a more advanced one. When the time comes, I need you to handle something for me. After Binghua finished speaking, a jet black sword that was nearly twice as long shot out from the void with one move and plunged into the alloy floor in front of Sadrian. Strian thanked him in surprise. Thank you, Queen, for your gift. After saying that, he pulled out the sword and stroked it lovingly. Binghua stepped directly into the opened micro-wormhole, left Sadarian's battleship, and then directly spread its wings and flew into the depths of the universe, and did not stay here for long. The reason why Binghua didn't kill Sadarian was because he suddenly came up with a good idea. Although it was unnatural, Binghua was not a follow-the-rules person. Therefore, he used the band technology and thought rewriting technology that Liang Bing had uploaded into the angel database to rewrite the mind of Strian, the great demon, and implant a program that was loyal to him. This is mainly to plant a nail next to Liang Bing so that he can grasp the specific movements of the demons, and at the same time, it is also to prepare for the annihilation of the demon civilization. Unexpectedly, Liang Bing accidentally made his plan come to nothing, but Strian's nail was not worthless. The next time she and Liangbing meet each other, Liangbing will definitely get an unexpected surprise. This is also a bad taste of Binghua. She made the plan to take revenge on Liangbing for deceiving her. She deliberately disgusted Liangbing. A crude plan. Shen Yuan was wearing a jet black armor and a transparent cloak covering himself tightly. He was lying on a high-rise building in Dexing, staring in the direction of Dexing Port a few kilometers away. The Dexing reconnaissance planes that flew across the sky every few minutes did not notice him as an outsider and completely ignored him. This was why Shen Yuan could leisurely observe where his mission targets would appear in the next few days. In fact, not only Shen Yuan, but also more than 100 Nyoxing sharp knife troops had sneaked into Dexing through special means. Although Nyoxing War God did not agree with such a risky god-killing battle, in the face of the order issued by Nyoxing's head of state, he could only obey it no matter how unhappy he was. So I also followed the Nyoxing sharp knife troops to Dexing. The intelligence personnel of Dexing still thought that the Nyoxing god of war was stationed in Noxing without any suspicion. They were able to do all this without anyone noticing. Due to the characteristics of dark alloy armor. Yuan, how's your observation going? Are you sure about this distance? Listening to the inquiry from Nyoxing War God in the communication, Shen Yuan answered confidently. This distance is within my shooting range. That's good. You take action first when the time comes. If it doesn't succeed, I will lead others to attack the starport. You can take advantage of the chaos and wait for an opportunity to act. Yes, sir. Shen Yuan agreed, and then there was a long silence in the communication. All the Noxians who had sneaked into Dexing were waiting for the welcoming ceremony tomorrow. In the morning of this day, the German defending army conducted a routine inspection around the starport, and then began to disperse and control the starport to protect the safety of Jarvan 3. Jarvan 3 also arrived at the D-starport near noon, wearing gorgeous armor and a crown representing the King of D-Star, preparing to welcome the Sun Crown Prince's spaceship. Shen Yuan was shocked when he saw his target's escort team. He immediately deployed the god-killing sniper rifle and began to scan Jarvan III's royal guards through the locking system installed on the gun body, looking for Jarvan III's figure. However, Jarvan III's bodyguards and his car entered the starport directly, giving Shen Yuan no chance to shoot. When this happened, Shen Yuan immediately reported the situation in the communication. Sir, the target is hiding in the spacecraft. I have no chance to shoot. The Nyoxing god of war, who was sitting in a room on the other side, heard this and slowly let out a breath. If the worst happened, then he could only carry out the second plan, storm Dexing port and attack the front. In the Dexing starport, the defending legions were wearing gorgeous armors and stood straight on both sides. Jarvan 3, followed by his royal guards and some Dexing senior officials, walked towards the retro-looking fierce sun that had landed in Dexing Scene port. The open hatch of the spaceship. Because the power of Kamigawa had no outbound missions, he also assumed the command of the defending army this time. He sat in the command room of the starport and observed the situation of the entire starport. After a few polite words between Jarvan 3 and Crown Prince Sun, they both got into Jarvan III's car and left the starport towards the palace. The god-killing locking frame in Shen Yuan's hand has been following Jarvan III's car. When he saw the accompanying Sun Star soldiers, his pupils shrank slightly. Liang people, at this moment, Shen Yuan's memories that had been buried deep in his heart by time flooded into his mind. A figure with a fiery light all over his body covered the entire land with endless light and heat with a wave of his hand. The plants were instantly scorched and turned to ashes in the flames, the earth dried up and lost all moisture, and the Laxians who were under this horrific natural disaster screamed and turned into burning torches. This purgatory scene has always been Shen Yuan's lingering nightmare, but because he stayed in Nyoxing's army for too long, these memories have been buried. But now, when the scene of the Liang army appeared in Shen Yuan's sight, he began to recall these scenes in his mind.